All right then.
Hello.
Hi Michelle. Welcome to TSG Live Talking Trains. I'm John. You're one of your hosts.
And I'm Michelle, the other host.
Right. We come to you live every third Wednesday of every month, and it's nice. I mention this usually most of the time that it's a nice chance to catch up because we don't get to talk that often otherwise.
I talk to you on the third Wednesday of the month.
Yeah.
So we had a snow day today. All the schools were closed. Everything was closed. Everybody worked from home. It was like a blizzard across Colorado today. It's kind of fun.
I don't know if you've been paying attention to what's been happening out.
You've had a little bit of rain.
Yeah, we've had just a little bit of precipitation here in California for the past, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks, and flooding and, mudslides and erosion and all that great stuff.
Yeah. California's been hit. So
yeah, luckily our castle's up on the hill, so the moat is a little bit full, but we didn't get flooded, thank goodness.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So anyway, I hopefully have an interesting show for everybody this month. We're in the process of getting ready to see something called the Fremont and Mo Valley HO.
Which I have seen this in person.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, I've been there.
Oh, well, how lucky is that?
Very lucky.
I've only seen the pictures. Well, I guess I've seen the videos too. So that'll be a lot of fun. It's an HO scale, so it'll be kind of like an HO scale layout tour in a way, live style. And well, I don't know. I mean, do you have anything else you want to mention, like what you've been up to lately, Michelle? Or
I just survived Christmas. To be honest, I worked so much because when you have a museum where everybody wants to go at Christmas, you work every day. Right. So I've just been regrouping, and it's been nice to be home. I've been working in my train room. Mm-hmm. I actually installed an NCE system into my little layout. So I put a power cab in there, and
that's up
I've been programming my locomotives. So for me, that's like exciting. I learned how to do it.
Right? Is that up on the shelf in that room there that we were looking at? Okay.
Yeah. It's over. It's behind like the screen I'm looking at. It's over there. So
it's behind and over to the right a little bit.
Unfortunately, on the show, you only see my train pictures and my art stuff, and all my actual model railroad stuff is like not on camera.
Maybe we can change that someday. I don't know how, but it would be kind
of. I have no idea how. I guess I could turn my desk around or something.
Yeah. So this is our top secret producer letting us know this is who we're going to be talking to.
Some good friends of mine. I'm excited to talk to them.
Yeah. So you had to meet Graham also when you were there?
Uh-huh.
Oh, look at you go. I got to get out there then.
I'm not sure I can't remember if Graham was there the night I was there, but I have met Graham before. Yeah. So, and I follow his Facebook because he takes really good photography.
Yeah. I think we've had on the podcast, I think I put some of Graham's photos. I know that Al had sent me some for Catch of the Month at some point from somebody, and I think it was Graham, because when I met him, I remember thinking that the name sounded really familiar, meaning when I met him on the computer.
He's had some pretty amazing real adventures for being such a good guy.
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's, why don't we bring these guys on here then? This is Graham and Al, or Al and Graham, if you do it in order, because Al's on the left
side. Hi.
Hi. Hello there.
Welcome, guys. You're coming to us all the way from hopefully sunny New Mexico.
Not lately.
Oh. You've had the weather too?
Only the past 3 days.
Yes.
Do you know what's funny? I want to tell you guys a story about New Mexico, of my impression of New Mexico. So people would say, oh, you should move to the East Coast. And it's like, no, they got blizzards on the East Coast. So you should move to the Midwest. Now they got, tornadoes and stuff like that. And by the way, and on the East Coast, they have hurricanes also. Oh, you can move to California. No, they got earthquakes there. Like, what about New Mexico? Nothing ever happens in New Mexico. That's what I used to think,
Just really windy.
Yes.
Is there a lot of wind out there?
I've been in some pretty good snow in New Mexico before.
Sometimes. Yeah.
Yes. I've been in Santa Fe in a snowstorm before too.
One time we had 23 inches out in front of the house from one storm.
Oh, jeez.
Yep. That's
Mhm.
only once. Usually it comes in overnight, 4 to 6 inches. By noon, it's gone. We
Yeah.
love it.
I think I've only driven through New Mexico, and I believe I've stood in New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, and Colorado all at the same time when we went
Yes,
to Four
sir.
Corners.
Yes, sir.
So we want to talk today about the Fremont and Mo Valley because it's a cool layout. And I remember a long time ago, Al, I think we've been kind of meaning to do this for about 2 years now because I remember seeing photos of your layout. It had to be at least 2 years ago because I think it was sometime around when COVID was starting. And I remember thinking that the modeling looked really good on it. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, I think this will
It's a
be
good line.
yeah, it'll be a really fun adventure here. So,
So I want to say how I know Al.
okay.
Just for people that don't know how I'm connected to Al. The museum, when we first started, we didn't have youth programs, but we knew it was something we wanted to do. And so somehow my board president met Al at a train show or something. I don't know. That might be something Al wants to tell. But I met Al because he actually helped us design our first youth programs based on what he does in Albuquerque, which is really cool, which is probably how Grandma's in your world, too. So,
That's exactly right.
I feel like I should have mentioned that whole youth and model railroading thing because that's also how I know you, Al, because we were both at that little summit thing that we did
Yep.
3 or something
Al's-
years ago.
Al's a pioneer in youth programs for model railroading. So
You want to talk about that for a second, Al? I mean, I know we had the infamous paper holding up the paper show about that before, but I think that it may bear, repeating because not everybody watched all of the shows. And for the
In
viewers,
2014, I was retired and I was looking for a way to work with youth. And I decided one day, why not do model railroading with youth? And it wasn't too much longer than this guy right here joined our Youth and Model Railroading Club. And at that time, we were called the Rio Grande Model Railroad Club. Today, Youth and Model Railroading. But anyway, we started with just 3 boys, and we've grown. We got to about 40 pre-COVID, and then dropped way back. But this last Saturday, we had a meeting, and Graham is now one of the adult modelers helping with the youth. We had 19 youth, we had 19 parents, and we had about 6 model railroaders that were assisting. So we had a very, very active room that day, running trains and having fun, doing clinics, so forth. But it's
That's
been a joy, very much a joy. And as long as we're talking about youth model railroading, I got to put in a plug for Larry Price in Denver. He's the one that inspired me many, many years ago to get started in working with youth. And I'm very grateful for his help and his advice and so forth.
awesome.
Yep.
matter of fact,
Okay.
Larry was also at the summit and we put out a video. Remember, we had the whole thing that was about the summit, and then you guys did a little panel discussion back at the museum afterwards. That
Yes.
people can find that somewhere on the channel. I forgot what it was called.
Somewhere out there.
Yeah,
Yes. Land. Yes.
it's on the channel somewhere in the thousands of videos.
Absolutely.
So
sorry, go ahead, Michelle.
no, I was just going to say, so did you guys, I'm just curious, I guess I'll ask my question. I want to know when you started this layout, but I'll ask it after you show us some of it.
Actually, maybe 2010, somewhere along in there.
Okay.
And I worked on it hard, and then we had a big Rocky Mountain Region convention here, and I completely dropped away from it, and then later on picked up when would be very active for a while, and then not active. And the last time I got active was when COVID, because I had plenty of time to come out here and do this, work on projects. So, and I'm going to show you some of those projects there shortly.
Okay.
I know a lot of people used COVID as a chance to get their stuff done. And there's a joke going around about, what model railroader doesn't want to sit in his basement alone anyway. So it didn't affect a lot of people the way it affected other people.
Yes.
So
why don't we bring up the first photo and
all right,
we'll kick this thing off. Here it is.
Yeah.
I was born and raised in north central Iowa, lived many years in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, on the main line of the Chicago and Northwestern Railroad. And this is one of 4 pictures that kind of inspired me as far as my layout. This is obviously the Chicago Northwestern pulling APL stacks back about 1984 when they teamed up with Union Pacific. But what happened here is that I know that this was either an Iowa or a Nebraska shot, because on the Northwestern locomotives had to lead because of their cab signal system. And when they got to the Union Pacific, then the Union Pacific had to lead because they had a different system. So, and the significance of this photo also was Old Highway 30, or the Lincoln Highway, is the one that's on the right-hand side. As we move forward, this is what we're going to show you today as you visit our layout. First of all, a video of the Chicago Northwestern APL stacks running on the layout. Graham's going to show that. And then we're going to talk about the location of the Chicago Northwestern trackage, orientation in the United States, share my list of must-haves that I wrote up before I ever started to build my layout, then get into the layout description and bench work and so forth. Do some individual photos of the layout, some highlights that were COVID shots. And then I had I wish I had list going to share with you, recognize my teachers and mentors, and then take a look at what's ahead, and then contact information of Graham and I. This particular shot shows where my model railroad is located, or is fashioned after, if you will. Graham and I are from Albuquerque, New Mexico, which represents the little dot down in New Mexico. But prior to moving to New Mexico, I lived in Cedar Rapids for about 20 years. And Cedar Rapids, or the state of Iowa, I should say, had the Mississippi River on the east side and the Missouri River on the west side. And the little section that's in red is the part that I actually modeled. If you look at Lake Michigan to the right there, the Chicago Northwestern came out of Chicago, came across to Illinois, to Clinton, Iowa, on to Cedar Rapids, on to Boone, and then out to Denison in western Iowa. And at Denison, it dove down to either Missouri Valley or on to Omaha. And this was a critical junction because the part that I actually model is from the Missouri Valley in Iowa across the Missouri River, across to Fremont. And that's about 40 miles. The other alternative that the Northwestern had was to go down into the Omaha area itself, or Council Bluffs, and they could hand off trains there. Today, the Union Pacific obviously merged the Northwestern into it in 1995. And the area that I model is called the Blair Cutoff. And you can see the Missouri River there, Blair, and then on to Fremont. This photo is the second photo that has inspired me for years and years. If you look at this particular photo, it looks like the train obviously is going to the left there, and you can see the trackage, but it's kind of weird. You can't see where the train is coming from. Well, one time a friend of mine and I actually went to this scene. We got back up on the hill, and we found out that somebody with a huge telephoto lens took a picture of an S-curve, and the telephoto lens distorted the photo so much that it looks like the train is coming from out of the trees, which it did not actually. But also look on the white barn there, and it says J&C Angus Bulls. Well, the significance there is that a couple of years ago, another friend and I had actually went and we stopped and talked to the farmers there that had that farm. And it was quite interesting learning that one of the gentlemen's name started with J and the other one was C. And it was just fun to visit and get to know them a little bit.
You know what we'd call it if we owned that place, Al?
What's that?
Well, John and Sydney's J&C. So I'm just saying.
Good point. Yes. I'll go back just so people can see that. That's cute, John. Okay, this is the Missouri River bridges. It's 3 great big bridges. This photo is not too crisp, only because I asked Graham to take a little tiny photo and enlarge it to fill the whole screen. But it looks like a -9 pulling there, and a UP engine behind it, maybe an SP, and then another UP. But they got a stack train and all kinds of different containers on there. This is Fremont, pretty much the way it looks today on the tracks. The significance of Fremont were great big grain elevators and overpasses. And this is what I've incorporated into my railroad here. You'll see very shortly. And what we're going to do is talk about the must-haves. And let's take a look at the layout itself right now, Graham, before we go any further here.
Okay, so I'm going to have to bring up that pad if I can find it. It's got to be here somewheres. Ah, here it is. You all ready there, Graham?
Yep, we're ready.
We're ready.
Okay, so let me make that big. I know there's a way to do this. Give me 1 second. There we go.
We tried this on a tripod and found out that it was actually much better to have Graham just physically hold his iPad and follow the train around.
And people can see what I was talking about. The modeling is very good on this.
Thank you.
Did you rust your rails, Al? Are they painted?
Oh, yes.
Thought so.
I like that Chicago Northwestern lead.
Yeah, unfortunately, we found when we did a test run of this, we found that the, what do they call it? Noise cancellation or background noise cancellation makes the DCC sounds, which those engines actually have, it makes the sounds disappear because the computer is so good at canceling out the.
Oh, it sees it as background noise.
Yeah, it thinks it's
mute the train because it's.
I suggested to Graham and Al when we did our test run a few days ago to just mute it because we were getting feedback anyway. So, but that's why we can't hear this.
I like that crossover right there of the double track.
Thank you. That was Rogers Crossing, and what's happening now is the train is actually going into a tunnel. And in Nebraska, there actually are no tunnels, but for my purposes, I had to have one. But this is the out of sight staging and main line track right here that he's showing underneath the layout.
Pretty organized looking wires too. I've seen a lot of undersides of layouts and they usually don't look that good.
Is that right?
They say that never look under the skirt.
This little quarry area that's not finished is one of my projects for the future.
It's a nice farm scene in the background.
You should be able to see the signals change here as it gets close.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, knocking it down.
And red.
And those are searchlights, aren't they?
Yes, sir.
Is this automated or are you just?
Oh, yes. This is running off a computer.
Okay.
I'm going to show you here in a second. We'll do one more once around and then go back to the presentation.
Oh, did you hear that? We heard the sound just momentarily. The computer got confused.
Well, you've heard of Murphy's Law, haven't you?
Oh, of course. We expect nothing less. You know,
Burlington Northern car.
Right. You know, we go to do layout tour videos, and inevitably on a layout tour video, everything doesn't work. And the other inevitable thing is the layout owner always informs us that it worked fine yesterday when he was testing it. So just having the camera there screws everything up, I'm sure. We have a lot of fun, though. So one person is asking if this is an N scale. This is actually HO scale.
Yes.
Oh, maybe I can bring up that. Remember, I said we went through the trouble to create this little. Let me find it here. This guy right here. I should have had this up this whole time. It tells people exactly what we're looking at.
Yeah.
As the train comes through or goes into the tunnel again, I'll have Graham actually scan the fascia so you can see the lights lit up.
Oh, so your detection is shown on the fascia as well, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll point that out here.
Quite cool.
Look right next to, we might be able to see it, but the white line is the main line there. I'll talk about that here in a little while. But these occupancy lights actually show our progress as we're coming across down underneath. And then the signals are also shown on the fascia as well. So you can watch those change.
Oh, I just saw a red light come on.
Yep.
So I have a question now while we're watching this, or don't let me stop you, Graham, if you were going to say something about this.
Go ahead, John.
Okay, so there's a question on the screen that's asking if the train is being run by a computer program. Do you see that?
No, it is not. I've actually just got it on my throttle to my right shoulder.
Okay.
But the computer is monitoring the occupancy of the blocks and also changing the signal indication.
The question that I have that was not related to the one that was on the screen, but I wanted to do the one on the screen first, is what are you using for detection and all that stuff? Do you have JMRI hooked up to this?
Yeah,
or?
JMRI and Digitrax. We'll show you here in just a second.
Okay.
That's fine. The question.
Do you have any safeguards, like an interlocking for that diamond right there so that you can't have a crash?
No, it is a possible cornfield meat spot.
Okay. And if it's in that part of the country, it would be a cornfield, wouldn't it?
Yes, but it is why you monitor the signals too.
I grew up in Nebraska, and none of our towns actually had stop signs at every intersection, only at the highway intersections.
Yes. Yep.
So it was just whoever got there first or whoever was bravest.
Good. Okay, going to stop there and we'll go back to the presentation.
Okay, so why don't I take that down off the screen? Oh, it seems to like me for some reason. I don't know why I did that. Let's get back to the Brady Bunch here.
We want the must-haves.
Yep.
There we go. Okay. Before I ever started building the layout at all, I started writing down things that I wanted on the layout. One was either the choice of a single or double track railroad. I wanted to model the Fremont area with grain elevators and overpasses. Wanted to be able to run long trains. And long for me in a 9 by 16 foot room is 12 or 16 cars, something like that. I set the railroad in 1989 to present. So it's a combination of Chicago Northwestern and UP. Track occupancy detection and working signal system. Out of sight staging for full length trains. Elevations, didn't want just a flat railroad. Wanted a end-to-end fluorescent lighting system and that would look like a museum setting where you're looking out or looking in onto the railroad. Traffic to include auto racks, coal, general manifests, intermodal, occasional passenger trains. Wanted to force mental involvement instead of just seeing the train go round and round and round. So all of the switches on the main line or the SDP are all on toggle switches that you have to walk across the room and physically toggle. The dispatcher's panel on the fascia. And let's see. So the layout itself, you could describe it as a twice around the single track railroad with a long SDP. That stands for sorting, drill, and passing track. The room size is 9 by 16. The height is 50 to 55 inches. The depth is 24 to 36 inches. It's all bench work, L girder with 1 by 2 sticks to get it up and have plenty of room underneath to work. And it's all 3/4 inch plywood with 1/2 inch homosote glued onto it. DC system or DCC system is Digitrax. The reason I have Digitrax is that we had a train store called Trains West. Their people were all trained on Digitrax. So I had people that knew how to work with the system and could teach me. Then all of our equipment is screwed or tied down onto drop-down panels. Graham's going to show you that in a second. And in the room, I have no windows intentionally. I use the space heater in the winter to keep it warm and a swamp cooler in the summer. But this keeps the dust factor, because of the wind in New Mexico, under control. And all the electrical is 14 gauge stranded and 22 gauge solid drops. There are 4 electric circuits on circuit breakers and 32 blocks. Model railroad.
So Al, with your swamp cooler, is there humidity in Albuquerque?
Very, very little. And that's a little bit
So
of humidity is enough to keep it tolerable.
Okay. I was going to say that's going to add humidity, but we add humidity to the museum layout because Colorado doesn't have humidity. So.
Okay. Yeah. We have less than you do.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. This is what when you open the door and turn on the light, this is what you see. Down below, you can see all of the Digitrax head-end equipment. You'll see the fascia right away. And on the fascia, if you look just to the right of the throttle there, you'll see a little light down there on staging 1. That's just showing occupancy. So you can see that a train is sitting there. You look up just above that, there is the recessed toggle switch for the line coming into the yard. And then you'll see the Fremont yard with the crew change building with the cars and trucks there. Microwave tower, freight house in the background, overpass, so forth.
I have a question.
All right.
Did you consult anyone from the layout design special interest group when you were putting together your plans and all that?
No, but not those people, but I certainly went to local modelers here in town and asked questions and showed my ideas and asked questions. And I have a support team here in town that is awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you mentioned that whole thing about going with Digitrax because you had support.
Yes.
Which is one of the things that I've frequently seen, questions posed like on social media. Which one should I use, NCE or Digitrax? Well, it's a holy war, I mean, the NCE people are all in for NCE, and the Digitrax people are all in for Digitrax. And quite often the answer is what you did. You go with whatever your friends have so that you have help when you need it.
Exactly. Go with whatever can be supported.
Yeah, that's a smart idea.
I don't know if Michelle knows it or not, but I probably would be running on your layout this weekend.
Oh, nice.
That's NCE. And quite frankly, I think either system is totally good. It's just a matter of support.
Right. And just learning which buttons are which on. I've used both now, and they're both good.
Yes.
I've also used simple DCC.
Yep.
And that was interesting. So
was it simple?
It was very simple and basic and pretty darn easy to use.
Yep. Here's the farm scene. I love this scene because I grew up on a farm in north central Iowa, and we had the white farmhouse. We had the red barn. And if you remember back from a previous picture, we had the J&C Angus bulls on the barn. This is A&M for Al and Marjorie, Hereford bulls. And I had a dear friend, Ray DeClaudio, built those 2 buildings for me. And then I did all the rest of the farm scene from photos and so forth. It was a fun area to work. This is, you can see the farm back in the right-hand corner. This is the Chicago Northwestern 1995 coming down the hill. This is the Heritage Unit by UP pulling a manifest. This was a great fun section here, this island between the 2 tracks of doing all the foliage and the trees and so forth. I was very proud of the way that came out.
Yeah, that looks really nice.
You know what you've also done here, Al, which is another layout design trick, is you made the road disappear behind the trees as a view block so you don't have to see where it goes into the wall. Excellent.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And here's the yard, Fremont. Looking at the tracks from the left to right, The first track there is for empty hoppers. Second track is load out from the elevator. Third track is westbound departures. Then track 4 is eastbound departures. Next one is arrivals. And track 6 is storage, and then SDP and mainline.
Did you use a different code for the siding tracks or spur tracks?
Tracks? I don't think so.
Okay.
That was only about 20 years ago when I did that, so I don't remember.
That's okay. I expected if you did, you would have known right away, because people do that very intentionally.
Rand's going to take over and explain these.
So here you can kind of see underneath that layout from where we were looking in from the door, that first picture that we showed a little bit closer up. We just have the two main Digitrax booster and command station there, kind of showing some of the wiring getting into this here. Then off to the left side, you can see all the wiring for the 32 different blocks. And then kind of near the middle of the board there are the PM42 units from Digitrax, which give us that block occupancy detection for the layout.
I like your nice, neat wiring there, Graham. And it's all numbered.
Yeah. So
look at your labels on every wire. Okay.
And then also here in the bottom right is the Digitrax Wi-Fi unit, so we can run the trains from our smartphones here as well.
Okay.
This just shows the computer. We just have a very basic Dell Windows XP old school laptop. And we had a friend, Don Donovan, who's really talented at JMRI. He created this panel for Al's Railroad. So it shows basically the whole railroad, all the track plan there. And the red line indicates where the train is being occupied right now. And then you can also watch the signals change as the train runs around on there.
And that's on JMRI, that part done on Panel Pro?
Okay. Using JMRI Panel Pro.
Mm-hmm.
And just a simple, we're using a railroad circuits USB connection to the Loconet. Here's some just more of the wiring. You can kind of see that the rainbow 10 wire cable that is going out to all the signals all around the layout. And then, so Michelle had commented on how organized all the wiring is. There's 7 binders that live up on the shelf above the layout. And there is every bit of paperwork from all the Digitrax equipment, all of the wiring diagrams, everything is drawn out, organized. So if there's ever a problem, you can troubleshoot it and solve the problem.
That's great. That's very brilliant.
Yeah, good idea to document stuff, because otherwise you're chasing ghosts, right?
You better believe it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Organization is a huge deal, I think, and I think that's lost on some people when they're building their stuff. Those are the spaghetti wires that I'm talking about that I've seen, under some layouts. It's like, okay, you really were just kind of flying by the seat of your pants on this, right? But it works, though. Sometimes you go in and it's like, hell, everything works perfectly. So look underneath, like, how does it work?
So I'm part of a local club here. It's called the Rio Grande Valley at the New Mexico State Fairgrounds. Oh, and I've been helping we're redoing a lot of the wiring there, just because a lot of it is, the layout is over 50 years old. And then it got moved, and it's been in its current location for about 20 years, I believe. So there's a lot, and it used to be DC, and then they changed it all over to DC. So now we're just, it's like the same thing. Nothing has been documented. So we're going through, and I've probably pulled out a mile of wire that's not even connected to anything underneath the line.
We have a very similar situation at the South Bay Historical Railroad Society, where Sydney and I volunteer, where it was a DC layout. There's actually 2 layouts there. It's an N scale and an HO, and it's the same thing where there are miles and miles of wire that's not even connected to anything. So it's, can relate.
This just kind of shows, this is what drives all the signals behind the laptop there. It's the SE8C unit from Digitrax, and then all the rainbow wires going out to all the signals around the layout. There's a new Digitrax signal unit that only controls, I believe, 16 signals, but this one controls all 32 signals. So they kind of went backwards with what their product can do, but it does the job well. And then here's that Wi-Fi unit again, and kind of a closer up of those PM42, the circuit breakers, and all the wiring for the 32 blocks. This is a picture that just shows that fascia really well. We kind of had mentioned the white line signifies the main line up on the top level, and then that yellow is that sorting drill passing or like a siding track. The orange line is significant because it determines the upper and the lower portions of the layout, like the different levels. So then like below the orange line, we're back on the main line and those two lower staging tracks under that hidden staging area. Here's just kind of a more close-up of the diagram of the layout fascia and all the...
I wanted to point out here, John, that on the extreme left, you'll see what kind of looks like one block wrapping around the corner down there. That actually represents the curve. Mm-hmm. So by having those three curved occupancy detection there, got to get the wording right, as long as you stay out of that area so that none of the lights lit up, you never have to worry about fouling the main when you can't see the trains underneath. Mm-hmm. That's the idea.
And then this just kind of shows around the layout, there's three throttle UP5 jacks, so you can plug in and run the throttles. And then the one on the left there shows the radio unit. So if you wanted to run unplugged from the layout, you can. So there's just 4 throttles around the layout for operators to use.
This was kind of a fun picture. This is Rogers Crossing. One of my best friends, Joe Rogers, who is now deceased, helped me build this model railroad and lay all the track and so forth. The main line is all represented by what's called Pink Lady ballast. The Chicago Northwestern used to haul that out from about Baraboo, Wisconsin, all over their system, and definitely has a pink color because a couple of years ago, Graham went up into that area north of Omaha near Missouri Valley and instantly recognized the color of the ballast. The other line is on the left. There is the SDP coming down, and that I just use a mixture of ballast colors on that. But anywhere you see the pink, you know that that's the main line going through this area.
Is that the same ballast that BNSF uses in many places? You know,
might be similar.
Because I've noticed the BNSF main lines out here where I live, at least in many places, is very pink.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see we have a question about operations. If you want to switch back to the camera view real quick, I can talk about that.
Oh, sure. Wait, the camera, as in the tablet or this? Hold on.
Camera, the computer camera.
Yeah, sorry. Let me bring that up. I'm a little slow on this. Let's try that.
All right, perfect. So there's actually this clipboard. We had a question about operations, and this whole list talks about how to set up the railroad. So you'll stage specific cars, and then there's switch lists for which cars will go to which track.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
I found it interesting too that usually, at least in my experience, and I've seen a few layouts in my time, but usually I've noticed that what I would call a roundy layout, which yours initially appears to be a roundy, but there's enough interest in terms of industry there that you could certainly do a very interesting, switch list or an op session if you wanted to, and having the detection would make it a lot of fun because the signals actually mean something. It's not just, knocking them down and going, oh, it changed,
Yes.
So that's really cool.
On the operations that Graham was just talking about, we set it up stage 1, and then you go through stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, which puts everything back for stage 1 again. So when we bring in youth and model railroading kids, especially, and adults too, they love to go through the various, I call them puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's great.
Yeah.
I think it's a really cool opportunity also, especially if you have a kid there, youth and model railroading, to explain what railroads part is in our transportation infrastructure. Michelle and I have had conversations about this at the museum many times, because at the Colorado Model Railroad Museum, as you know, they show the entire process going from a cut tree all the way to the port to be shipped out as, finished goods or finished lumber.
Yes.
And I think that I've said this before, and so if I sound like a broken record, I'm sorry. I think that there is a bit of information that gets lost, even on adults, when it comes to the transportation infrastructure, really in every country, but railroads built this country, so it's really sort of should be near and dear to us. Just what that means, because people will show up at a railroad crossing and there's a big old freight train going, and all they think of is, oh shoot, I'm going to have to wait for 5 minutes while this train goes by, when they should be thinking, oh well, that's great, that's hundreds of trucks off the roads. So sorry, just an observation.
No problem. No problem whatsoever. Agree 100%.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Great question.
Should we bring the pictures back? I can bring it back up here.
Yep.
All right.
We'll get you being really good at it here. We'll train you.
I was blessed to have a person called Lynn Garrison, who has passed away now.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Lynn was a dear model railroader and dear friend. In this particular case, I took a photograph down the street just across from the crew change building on the Chicago Northwestern UP main line. We took the photograph. Lynn actually cut off the photograph just above the buildings. She painted the hills in the background. We glued the picture onto the wall, and then she painted the top of the light poles, the crossing signals, and so forth back into the photograph. What you're actually seeing there where the other crossings are is that's the BN line that at this area in Fremont actually runs parallel to the Union Pacific Chicago Northwestern main line. The building,
That's nice and done. Yeah.
the buildings were done by a dear friend who's also deceased, is Alan Phillips. He did most all of my Fremont buildings. Recall selective compression here. I did not have room for 3 bridges over the Missouri River, but I used one. And
does that go back to that picture, Al, that you were showing earlier with the 3?
Yes.
Okay, I thought so.
Exactly right.
It's a little different angle on this one, but
bridge, but it is similar to what's on the main line there.
Mm-hmm. It's recognizable for sure.
Yes. Miss Molly's Diner from Woodland Scenics. I want to point out that the gentleman that's on the top step there, I don't know, I think he's in trouble because his wife is storming off to the car to get into the car. He's having to explain something that isn't right. Kind of a nice little scene. This was a COVID project right here.
That's neat.
Yeah, the body language is there though, right?
He's like, what did I do?
Yes. We had something up on the screen, then I missed it.
Oh, somebody had just said, what a nice layout. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Resistors for all the cars are JB, and they're 20K ohm is what they are. JB wheel sets, I think it's called.
There you go. We think we know why the guy's in trouble.
He's probably trying
model power purchase.
Yep.
I think we could all relate to that one.
Yes. This is Fremont, and you can see the water tower and the building there. And I don't know what's going on because I've never had time to stop and play sidewalk superintendent, ask these guys what they're doing. But the survey crew obviously is laying out some kind of a building site. Len Garrison donated this building to me, and the grain bins and the I can't say the right word for the vertical part there right at the moment. But anyway, this was a COVID project. It was plain plywood when I started. I built in the scene, did the scenery work on it, put our structure into that scene. And you can see here the guys are getting ready to accommodate the fall harvest, working on some kind of a metal project.
That's cool.
And nearby, this was a construction scene. There's actually a guy down in the hole there on the left, just almost under the bucket on the unloader. But they're checking out underground utilities of some kind.
Like your graffiti on your walls.
Lynn did that.
Go Fremont. Does it say go Fremont High Tigers? That's cute.
Right. This is my I wish I had list. Looking back, electrical, anybody that's getting ready this day and age to build a layout, estimate how many outlets you need and then multiply it times 4 at least. Everything's got a power supply. It seems like everything's got a power supply.
That is true.
Yes. Set up the layout. What I mean there is that when Graham or somebody brings in their locomotives, their cars and so forth, got to have an area to where your guests can set out their locomotives and cars. And the next one is equally important, is a holding area for all the empty boxes, because boy, sometimes I just get buried in empty packaging, and also for long-term storage for myself. Then the workbench desk in the train room. If I haven't walked 1,000 times between my train room and the office, that I'm underestimating that. I wish I had a workbench out here in the train room. Save a lot of steps.
Mm-hmm.
This is a list of the people that helped me. I have been so blessed in regard to helpers, people that were fantastic modelers, new software, so forth. Ray DeClaudio, I mentioned, did the farm barn and the house. Don Donovan did the JMRI software for the signal system. Lynn Garrison, backups or backdrops, scenery, weathering. Buzz Lenander, you know Buzz, Michelle.
I know Buzz, yeah.
Locomotive programming. Alan Phillips did the scratch building of all the Fremont buildings. Joe Rogers, my dear friend, did the layout and design and all the Digitrax work. I did all the wiring as far as pulling the wire, but he's the one that told me where to pull it. And then Kathleen Rogers did the skirting for me here in the room. And Graham obviously is a master on JMRI software, signal systems, locomotive programming. And my wife, Marjorie, has put up with me for the most part.
She doesn't walk out of restaurants when you in the factory.
Yeah, well, maybe that scene was a memory that you have there, Al.
Yeah, and then okay, thank you for. Oh, okay. JB still in business? Absolutely. When I show my contact information, if you can't find him, just email me and I'll get you the information. I'll just got to say I've been blessed. It's been fun. I've had help and support for some of the best modelers in the country right here in Albuquerque, and I am very, very grateful for that. Life is good. What's ahead? I got to finish the quarry. I got to put in the grade crossing signals, weather the ATM elevator, weather cars and locomotives, and most importantly, just play. I continue to thoroughly enjoy working with youth and model railroading. Love to have the kids here. I never have switches that get stuck or anything like that, because on a particular afternoon, they probably have flipped every switch a dozen times on a run session. And then travel, run sessions up and down the Front Range, visiting Michelle at the museum and running there.
Yeah.
And this is us.
All right.
I was asking Graham earlier. Graham, why didn't you tell us where you're at in life right now and what you're doing?
So I'm currently a junior at the University of New Mexico here in Albuquerque. I'm studying business entrepreneurship. I have a lot of interest in computers and different things like that. So maybe starting an IT business, supporting people. I always like helping out people with their computers and their technology. Last summer, so I don't work usually when I'm in school because I'm a full-time student, pretty busy. But last summer I worked for Holland America Princess Cruise Lines, and they have 20 of their own super dome cars that they run on the Alaska Railroad. And I was working up there as a tourist sale agent, and I'll be going back again this summer. So very cool experience.
Your photography was fantastic. I really enjoyed watching your summer.
Yeah, I tried to take pictures as I could. I enjoyed
it. An idea for you for your future entrepreneurial business is call up tech support for model railroads around the country, and I think you'll be swamped.
Probably. I play tech support at the club enough.
And here.
Marjorie will write a list of all the things that she has going on with her iPad or her phone, and I'll come over. We'll spend an hour or so fix them. I make them write lists so they can remember what needs to be fixed.
See, you've already got it down. Now you know how to do this as a business.
Yeah. Yes.
Just typed in the chat that we have time for some questions. So if people have more questions, this is a great opportunity. I mean, I think anyone who's thinking about building a layout should pick your brain, Al, because what you've done there, I think, looks pretty well laid out.
Thank you.
You've done an amazing thing in a small space. Your layout makes your room look a lot bigger than it is. It appears to be a way bigger.
Well, I got as much room as I could, and Marjorie can still get her car in. My pickup has never been inside since I've been in Albuquerque 20 years. Also, one little project that I was working on here just last weekend with the kids. I've been doing youth and model railroading. Thank you. At Youth and Model Railroading, we've been running a series called How to Improve the Performance of Your Model Railroad Cars. And as an example, we talked about wheels this past weekend, teaching the people of what are the right kind of wheels, the best wheels, where to get them. And this is the next project that we're going to be working on. We've got maybe 8 or 10 small 40 or 50 foot flats. I went on eBay and found a guy that had made these 3D printer wheel racks. And I weathered the wheels themselves.
So they're going to make this?
Yeah,
that looks fun. I'm going to do
So-
this in my NMRA club, my NMRA division. I like that.
Well, in this particular car, I actually took out the old weight, cleaned off all the old rust, spray painted some black automotive primer on it. I put new metal wheels on, spray painted or airbrushed the wheels in the trucks, put those on, added a wood deck onto the car, so forth. I saw we had a question come through, but I was talking.
Yeah, so any special, unique appearances from other railroads? We definitely bring a lot of equipment here. Like I mentioned, I worked on the Alaska Railroad, so I got a couple of Alaska Railroad SD70 Max. They've been here through the cornfields. We've had the big boy here run through. All different kinds of things have traveled across this layout.
Yes, you
You
name
have
it.
those dome cars, Graham, for the railroad?
The dome cars, yes, I have. I have 7 out of the 8 that they've made. I'm still looking for the last one.
That's awesome.
We encourage the kids when they come to bring their own, if they have their own equipment, or they can run ours. And as far as the model railroad being portrayed originally at about 1989, anything after 1989 works on here too. I've got about every age of or model of UP locomotives or Chicago Northwestern locomotives you can think of. Don't tell Marjorie that. No.
we might catch you outside that diner again if you do, huh?
That is correct. What do we got here? Surplus gear.
Are you going to build a kit? Not on the show, but
No.
Oh, you might mean of the cars, the wheel sets, maybe. Maybe that's what he's asking.
yeah.
If you go on, let's see, I'm trying to remember how that was worded. Contact me on my email and I can get you the information on the wheel racks. Use 1 resistor per truck. I use 2 most of the time, just because if one actually gets dirty, then the other one kicks in. Don't have to use 2.
ensures better operation, though, huh?
Absolutely, yes.
Definitely detected then.
Yes.
So,
When I go to Greeley, I don't want somebody telling me, "Well, you got dirty wheels." That happened a long, long time ago.
did it really? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
I just make sure I got two resistor wheel sets on each car, and I'm good.
You're good to go.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, that was fantastic, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're very welcome. It was fun doing it.
It was fun, and your tech worked. Like you successfully used an iPad in an amazing way on a live show. Congratulations.
Yes.
Well, we had a trial run, so that helped.
Yes.
Yeah.
What you guys can't see is the 100-foot Ethernet cable strung across the whole house out to the garage to get us our network connection out here.
Right?
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah.
I brought this back up in case people have questions they want to send you guys later. I think it's yeah, that was fun. If you ever have a project or something that you've been working on or want to share with the audience something that you did recently or whatever, you're welcome to come on anytime. Graham, we sometimes do shows.
I think we need to see a photography of Graham's Alaska summer. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, photography shows. If you ever want to do it, you know how to get a hold of me.
Yeah, or we could do another layout tour at the state fairgrounds that I mentioned.
Sure.
That'd be fun.
That could be fun as long as their internet supports it, right?
Yeah, right now we don't have internet, but I'm working on that.
That would be a little hard then.
Part of my tech adventures there.
You'll be like me at the museum. The internet's so bad, I turn it off and use my 5G on my phone, and it comes out better.
There is no internet.
Yep.
Yeah. Someone was asking what the name of the railroad we were looking at is called, and I put the ticker back up at the bottom there. The
Fremont and Mo Valleys, or Missouri Valley Railroad.
Now, in that area today, isn't the Nebraska Central Short Line kind of connected into Fremont also? Like modern time?
If I remember right, they're out at Grand Island and North.
Okay, so they're a little bit to the west
Yes.
of where you're at. Okay.
I might share the reason I like Fremont is that my former brother-in-law took me there many, many, many years ago, and we rode a 3-car passenger train out to about Grand Island, and then rode the city of everywhere back to Fremont.
Ooh,
Yeah, that was quite an experience.
that's a good memory.
Yep. Been going to
Another example of you model what you love.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Cool. All right.
Okay.
Guys. Well, it doesn't seem like there's any more questions popping up. So unless you have something else that you'd like to talk about,
No,
we can.
thank you for having us.
That
Yes.
was a great clinic. You guys were like right at an hour too. You should make this a clinic, like standard.
Well, we just had a test run for your clinic now, so you can refer
Yeah.
people back and say if you want this clinic, you can see what it's about. And hey, next
Yeah.
step, you'll be famous. You'll have a hard time going to the hobby shop. People are going to come up to you looking to get selfies and stuff.
Yep. Thank you, Sydney.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, guys. I'll be seeing you, Al, soon. Then sounds like.
Absolutely. Yep.
Drive safe. We just got tons of snow.
Yes, I will.
All right. Take care, guys. Thanks again for coming.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cool. Oh, that was really good. I'm glad
was
we
cool.
finally got around to doing that.
It is a great layout to see in person too. It really is so nicely done.
Yeah, and it's like
If you're
I
ever
said
in
earlier,
Albuquerque, call
Right.
Al.
I've been, talking to Al about doing this for quite some time now. So I'm glad we were finally able to get
Yeah.
around to it.
Well, Graham's back and he can do the tech and
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I guess maybe that was the holdup before, huh? It was the tech. Yeah.
I think it was the tech.
Yeah.
So
Well, it worked out really well. I like what they
speaking
did.
of tech,
Mhm.
I got fiber optics in my basement hardwired to this computer now. So
Oh,
I
really?
shouldn't cut out and like have problems. Hopefully it works amazingly well.
Well, it seems to be working really well now.
Yeah, we've been happy with it. I've had it's called Allo, it's the company here, but it's fiber optics right into my house. So I'm super excited.
What's the outlook for fiber optics going to the museum?
I think we have a date at the end of January.
Oh, really?
They actually hit the date to get it in there. We already have all the conduit in. Everything is ready to go.
Cool.
And then in other news, we're actually in our big outdoor spaces. We're planning a big pole tower on our fence line that's right at the curve, the super elevated curve by the museum. So you can see both directions, and we'll put virtual cameras up there.
Oh, that'll be cool.
So yeah, we have a local guy who works with one called Steel Highways, which is I guess we're the only one kind of not in the Iowa region that they run, but he's willing to help us get started. We'll probably eventually have Virtual Railfan on it, but Steel Highways is cool. You guys should look that up. It is a YouTube channel, and it is free as far as I know for Railfan cameras.
Oh, cool. You know, it might even be worth it to have it sort of in-house, you know, where especially if you have fiber to the museum.
Right. And we will have fiber to that pole.
You know, you could even have it on your YouTube channel, but you could also feed that onto your website, which would give people a reason to stay on the website longer, which I know, you know.
And we're going to have cameras inside too, which I think would be fun.
Yeah.
So put some around the layout and have like our model Virtual Railfan cameras.
You know, I never thought about that, but if you had, that would be really cool. You could even tie one into the F7 simulator.
Right. And you could have the simulator camera going around the layout and send that out live. So there's a lot of things we can do once we actually have the power of the internet that functions.
You mean actual a little bandwidth, you know?
Well, you know, they came and twisted our little DSL wire, and we went from 1 upload to 1.5 at the museum.
Whoa, supercharged. Hey, it's 50% increase. That's amazing.
It was, you know, it was a boost. It lets me actually load a page without having to count to 10.
Well, you know, I wanted to go over some of the events that are coming up, and I wanted to do it in order, but because we're having this conversation, I want to bring something up on the screen real quick.
Sure.
That's one of the events, and maybe we'll go in backwards order because I think this is the furthest one out right now, and that is the YouTube meet and greet. So this is something that, right, we've talked about this before. And this is something that Sparky 107, for those of you who are watching, I think everybody probably everyone who's talking in the chat knows about Dave's channel. If you don't know about it, it's Sparky 107. He's been doing this meet and greet thing for a few years now. And he came to us because we both know Dave. He's actually been out to my area. We have a Chasing Trains episode or two with him on it when he was out here 4 or 5 years ago. But he came to us, I guess last year, right, Michelle, and said, hey, why don't we do the there he is. He's just talking in the chat now. He says, why don't we do the meet and greet out west? And I'm like, yeah, because I've been after him to do it out west because he only goes to Pennsylvania usually. Right.
I kind of wanted to call this the Wild West meet and greet, but I guess we have to have YouTube in there instead. But that's okay.
It'd be a Wild West YouTube meet and greet. I don't know. Come up with something.
We're going to have a lot of fun. We got a lot going on.
Yeah, I used the idea of internet at the museum as a segue because that's one of the things that we're planning to do. Now, at this point, it's really a lot of plans and not a lot of super solid stuff that we know for sure. But I will tell everybody watching, I've been out to Colorado a number of times now, 3 or 4 times, or maybe 5 in the past few years. And I can tell you that every time that I've done anything out there that Michelle was involved with, it ended up being better than any, like, I don't even set expectations. I just know something good is going to happen.
We usually make our plans like the day before sometimes too, but that's okay.
You know, and that has happened and it was great. I mean,
but that's the railroad world. That these things aren't finalized because we have to be a little closer.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. And here's the other cool thing is that maybe something on this list doesn't end up happening. Something better will.
Yeah. I'll come up with something fun.
Yeah. So as it stands, we're planning a few things that are likely to happen, more likely than not to happen, should say. Including one thing that will happen almost without question will be a tour of the Colorado Model Railroad Museum because we know someone who can make that happen.
You might know someone with a key. We'll be okay.
Right. We
I
know.
think we'll probably have dinner too outside by the tracks. Watch some
that would be
go
cool.
by and eat outside, and I think that'll be fun. The barbecue at my house is the Thursday night, so if you come in early, you can come to my house.
Yeah, I keep trying to think of something to do for TSG train crew members that's special that doesn't happen anywhere
I could
else.
put ice cream bars in my freezer and let them open the freezer door and get them themselves.
Well, or either that, or they could ask Keith for it, and he can tell them no.
Yeah, there you go.
If you ask for it, you don't get it.
And then the Colorado Railroad Museum and the Georgetown Loop might end up being on the same route. So what we're trying to decide is where we go for each day. Mm-hmm. But the Forney Museum, is that even on this list?
There's the third thing. Yeah,
the Forney Museum has a big boy in it, 4005, and it's cool. And you can get up and look inside the cab, and that place has a lot of other rail stuff, and some cool cars, and a cool motorcycle collection, and a steam tractor. And they also have an N-scale layout, which I'll try to see if they can come in and open that up for us, because it's the Moffett line and it's really cool. And then the Colorado Railroad Museum in Golden, of course, has really cool stuff. And John, you've done a few shows about that one, so people can look that up. Mm-hmm. Cheyenne Depot Days, they were going to have a train show, but they're not having the train show. But we could still go to Depot Days because they're going to have that. And Harry Brunk's famous layout from the Short Line and Narrow Gauge Gazette that has 2 huge published books from all the articles he wrote about this layout sits in the Cheyenne Depot Museum. And it's really fun. And I know we can arrange for some people to be there to talk to us about it. And it's got some good stories that I'll tell about getting it there. 4004 sets in the park in Cheyenne. And then there's some fun restaurants in Cheyenne. So we'll have a Western experience. It'll be good.
Yeah. And I gotta say that the 4004, that display in Holiday Park is really cool. And as we know, Michelle, some people have lists of all the big boys, right, that are left. What is it, like 7 of them that you can?
There's 8.
Oh, there's 8. Okay. Well, you can
check off 2 at least, and hopefully
you might even be able to check off 3 if they have the one in the Cheyenne steam.
If they have the shop tours, then we can check off 3. So we'll just have to see. Usually they're shop tours with Depot Days, and if not, Ed does a speech. Usually he'll do a talk, and we'll attend that. So hopefully they'll have something that we can go and see that will be super fun.
Yep. So, and the line between Denver and Cheyenne's fairly busy, so we can get some foaming in by the museum.
Real fan. And then there's that brewery where we can sit and have dinner at Accomplice. And you're right where the crew change happens. So trains right next to you. It's fun.
Yeah. So there's a lot to. Oh, Matthew Hetchler's mentioning that there's another locomotive, right?
It is. I actually sometimes use the word cute with it because it's such a neat little locomotive. I see Jennifer's on here. Jen and I took a selfie together with a timer on our phone so we could both be in the picture with this locomotive. It's super cute. Yeah. So it's out by the fairgrounds, which is cool. So where the big, huge rodeo happens, there's actually a museum about the rodeo, which is kind of fun too. If nobody's ever been to a rodeo, which you probably haven't, East Coast guys.
I have. Well, it was a rodeo. It was called the Clements Stampede, and it was something that they used to run every year. They probably still do out near where I used to live when I was a kid. But yeah. So anyway,
Cheyenne's the home of the granddaddy of them all. So everything there is Western, including the giant cowboy boots all around town. So
I bet. And everybody, you have to, if you go to Cheyenne though, you have to have a big belt buckle, right?
No, I don't ever tuck my shirts in. So I actually break that rule.
Doesn't that help though? Like,
yeah, if you got a belt buckle, I do have the boots. I have cowboy boot season and I have sandal season. So
if your belt buckle's not big enough, you won't fit in. I'm joking, of course. So let me take that. I just wanted to mention this because it is coming up. I know May 19th through Sunday, May 21st. Mm-hmm. This sounds like a long time from now, 5 or 6 months, whatever, 4 months, whatever it is. It sounds like a long time. And this happens to me every year. It'll be here before you know it. And then it'll be done. You're like, oh, I mean, it seemed like it was so far off in the distance. Well,
no, it's going to be here. And you should start looking at your flights because they're cheaper now than they will be later.
Right.
And you might want to fly on Thursday and Monday. Mm-hmm. They might be cheaper. I don't know. Sometimes they are.
Yeah.
So, but DIA, you're flying to Denver International Airport. Cheyenne's Airport isn't an airport anymore. They don't have one. So you got to fly to Denver. We'll figure it out. There is a Greeley shuttle. Sydney's putting it up there. So Sparky, do you want to put in chat or something? How people get information from your site on this?
Yeah, they've been talking about it. There's a Facebook page too that I think, I'm trying to look for it now. I thought that Sydney posted it. Yeah, she posted it up in the chat. If anybody missed
there
it.
There we go. Oh, and if you want to buy the t-shirt, I took the photo in it.
Oh, I forgot about the t-shirt. Where is that? Sparky made some t-shirts for this event too. He used
my photo on it, so I was all excited.
Yeah, I need to get one of those shirts.
I do too. I haven't ordered one yet.
I keep forgetting.
Sorry, Dave.
There's so much other stuff going on. Yeah. So we have someone else waiting. Actually, 2 other people waiting to talk about another upcoming event that's much sooner. Boy, we're going to go all out of order, Michelle. I hope that's
okay
with you.
People can figure it out because they can rewind and.
That's right. So let's bring the next 2 guests on that are talking about the next event. That'll be Seth and Sydney. I just have to figure out how to do this. Oh, here they are. Here's Seth Newman.
Okay, now I've got to find out which tile I'm in here and get this back up on my screen.
Oh, I have something that I can add to the stream, Seth, if you think that would help. Check this out.
Yeah, I've got I can't see it. I can hear you, but I can't.
Oh, we're having.
And you can't find the stream tab. Yeah. It's got the little duck on it.
Well, yeah. Seth and I are here to talk about the PCR Bay Area Layout Design and Operations Weekend Meet that's coming up in February. And the exciting thing for all of you guys out in YouTube land is that we're offering a virtual option for this event. So, cool. and that even gets you into the free layout design consultation or operations consultation if you're a virtual registrant. So that means you get to sit down with somebody for 30 minutes and get a consultation on improving your operations or redesigning a layout, whatever.
And this is actually a really big deal. I made the comments while we were talking to Al and Graham about consulting someone from the layout design SIG on his layout, because he actually incorporated a lot of elements from the layout design SIG that I know about, that I commented on while we were looking. You can get information like what he got from his friends, basically from someone who really knows. And the layout design consultations and operations consultations are very laid back. They're not like someone's gonna, here's the layout I was thinking about building. Well, why are you doing that? It's
not being judged. It's how can we help you? What are your goals, and what ideas might I have to help you get closer to your goal?
Exactly. And we know all the people that do the layout design consultations, and it's a really safe space to bounce ideas off of someone who knows about that kind of stuff. So I think it's a great idea. And also, if you're developing operations for your layout, they do the same thing. Sydney just mentioned it, where you can tell them what you want to do, and they'll look at the layout, the design of the layout, and give you ideas of, how to dispatch it, or what car forwarding to use, what's appropriate for your era, all kinds of great information to help you enjoy the hobby better. So anyway, are you on now, Seth? Did you figure out your tech?
Yeah, I found out my tech. I'm still looking for the announcement. Here it is. Okay,
I'm not sure if people know I don't know that people know what Seth does. Seth actually has kind of a big position coordinating all the SIGs. We should talk about that too. That Seth volunteers his time for the NMRA
of SIGs.
We
should rename him.
Keeps us all organized. I got my email from him, and I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you for helping me organize all this.
Well, you guys were wonderful. I wish everybody who had an idea for a SIG was quite as together as your team. So, and of course the team is Michelle and Sydney. So it's like not that we don't have the most.
Few others, yeah.
Well, I don't know. I guess Cynthia's with you also. She's another.
Yeah, Cynthia and Nancy
Workman.
Christina.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there are just just awesome people, and just we're so fortunate to have folks like you involved in the NMRA, she's a great editor, and I've done a number of articles over the years for NMRA, and it's just so much better when when you have an editor who knows what they're doing and has helpful suggestions, and she's just right up there with the best. So what a great crowd. And Nancy, I got a Nancy story you'll love this.
We don't
Nancy is, as I think you all know, is the CEO, main person of soundtracks. John, how do I get in here and get that virtual thing off? It's really not looking very good. Anyway.
The virtual background?
Yeah.
You're just missing part of your head. It's okay, Seth.
Yeah, there's nothing in there.
Just keep talking, Seth. Keep talking.
You haven't missed anything. All the air is rushing out, And so they put on this fantastic dealer training. And I have to say, having been in industry, technical industries for my entire career, it was one of the best trainings I ever had the opportunity to do. And they used to, before the pandemic, also offer this to just interested individuals. You didn't have to be a dealer. Anyway, a friend of mine was a dealer. So we went off, decided, let's drive out to Durango. And so we get the plant tour, and she's got a very nice setup with a pick and place machine and just all the stuff you'd expect somebody who was really serious about producing high quality electronics to have. And she was saying, yeah, but, we don't use it that much. It's only a few days a month. And I said, well, gee, is there anybody else in the tech center in the Four Corners region that you could, you could lease it out to or do it as a service? Because once you've got the person who knows how to set the machine up, there's basically no incremental cost. So it's a great business opportunity. And Nancy looks at me very seriously and she says, Seth, I am the tech industry in the Four Corners.
And she's right. She is the tech industry of the Four Corners area. That's good.
Anyway, great products. I'm a satisfied long-term Soundtracks Tsunami user. So, and they've got the new Blue Nami out. Anyway, not to plug everybody else's product, but they're great and wonderful people, and I'm glad they're supporting the Women in Model Railroading SIG. So
yeah,
that's awesome. And Seth, so you've been doing this SIG meet we kind of shorthand call it SIG meet for a long time. What's the history on this event?
Well, as far as I can tell, this was a Bay Area event that a guy named Michael Stimmick, who's sadly no longer with us, organized the first one sometime in the 80s. And I got involved with it in the early 90s, I think 93. And at the time, it was just, every year somebody would organize it and maybe a dozen people would show up. And in this case, we sat around the guy's living room and talked about our plans, and then went downstairs and looked at his layout of building. And, that was the meet, and it was great. And I met some people who, are still very good friends in the hobby at that meet. And I would say it was probably at a time where I might have gone on to something else, but for the, advice and great ideas of these guys, said, oh, I think I understand. And these ideas will help me, design a much more satisfying layout. And it also introduced me to a couple of operators. And then I got into operating, and that really gave me a much better idea about what I wanted to design. So this is like 93, couple of business moves, fast forward to 98. We come back from some work assignments on the East Coast, and the question is, gee, we'd like to do some things with a house. Do we sell it and buy another one, or do we do renovations? And Lori came to me and said, well, I really want this master bedroom suite with all these features. And I'm kind of listening to it, and we figured out how we could kind of combine the master bedroom in another room. And I said, well, it sounds great, but a man's got to have a mainline run. So I go off to, I think, the NMRA convention in Long Beach, which was 96 or 7. And when I come back, it turns out my cousin, who is an architect, was in town, unbeknownst to me. And she and Lori, start talking about this problem. And Leslie, my cousin, says, well, your house is set pretty far back. You can probably build a lot further forward. So why don't you... And, her plan is basically rip off the front of one of the bedrooms, extend it, and then build another bedroom off the side so it still has the requisite number of bedrooms and it doesn't exceed lot coverage. And we end up with a really nice courtyard, which actually serves as our crew lounge today in good weather. And happily, the Bay Area, it's usually good. So anyway, the upshot of all that was I ended up with this big empty layout room, and the local SIG meet committee was looking for a place to hold the SIG meet. And I said, I've got this room. It's 14 by 34. We could probably put 40 people in there. And we'd had kind of a tradition of holding it in the space where somebody was trying to design something. And it was a great idea, except 75 people showed up and it was a warm day.
Good thing you had that courtyard.
Good thing we had the courtyard, and good thing we had skylights in the room, so you could just open them up and it would just kind of ventilate itself. So anyway, the result of that, of course, was in addition to getting some very good suggestions about my space, I got to know all the people on the local committee. I think we held, we did hold an NMRA convention in 2000. So by the time we came back to people actually having any energy to do anything else, if you hold an NMRA national in your region, nothing will happen for the next year because you've toasted all the talent. And there's, we have a very, rich region in terms of lots and lots of talent, but still it's 30 or 40 people who do everything, of hundreds of model railroaders living in the area, there's 30 or 40 who will lift a finger to get something organized. You guys are all organizers. You know what I'm talking about. And anyway, people had moved, people had burned out, one thing or another. Seth, would you maybe organize this meet, because the guy who was going to do it bailed out in like September, and it was scheduled for the end of January. So anyway, I have kind of been the chairman of the Bay Area SIG meet for, 2021, 22 years, something like that. And it's a great meet. When I started, the format was pretty simple. We would have, a meet and greet around the room because they were fairly small, and one or two set piece clinics. And then we'd tour a couple of layouts in the afternoon, everybody go home, and that was it. Over the next couple of years, the volume of people was such that we couldn't really do that meet and greet format anymore. So we settled down to essentially 6 clinic slots, and typically 4 would be clinics. 1 would be a design challenge where we put out some design parameters and people would try and do designs. And then they had this sort of speed dating thing where they, here's 5 minutes, meet my layout. Isn't it cool? And then we'd have a panel, and sometimes the panel would comment on the layout design challenge, and sometimes we just have another topic, like getting a bunch of owners together and saying, well, tell us how you got organized to do operations, but something of general interest to people for a design SIG. So we were doing that, and then we got a little bit more of a formal tour program Saturday night. Then somebody said, well, hey, we're talking about ops and we've got owners. So, maybe we'll ask a couple of them to hold ops sessions on Sunday. So sometime around 2005 or 6, we started adding a day of ops on Sunday, which we're still doing. And that went on till, around 2012 or so, I think, maybe even a little before. Now, I think it was 2010, because it was during the Great Recession. We'd outgrown the South Bay Historical Society where we held this thing. And there, as it turns out, there was a recession on, which was kind of great for us because all the business hotels were, very hungry for business. And when we said, we'd like to, rent your facility space, on a weekend when you don't have that much business stuff going on anyway. And oh, by the way, we can't afford to pay very much. And they were kind of like, oh, anything to fill up the rooms and maybe pick up some food and beverage revenue. So, that was cool. Of course, that lasted for 2 or 3 years and Silicon Valley came roaring back, and it's been a bit of a challenge that way ever since. But the upshot of that was we decided, well, maybe we don't need to hold it in Silicon Valley proper every year. So we decided, well, we'll hold it in the East Bay. We'll hold it in Marin. We'll go up to Sacramento where the museum has been.
Yeah, that's the nice part, I thought, is that you guys rotated around the Bay so that it seems like a small area that we're in, and we should be able to all head to South Bay or somewhere in the San Francisco Bay Area. But man, traffic, you got to figure in the traffic.
Well,
and it's a pain in the neck. So having it rotate on years in different areas of the Bay really picks up a lot of different people and allows that accessibility that maybe wasn't there before.
Absolutely. And we'll get into the virtual, that you were talking about, which is yet another way to extend it.
Talk about accessibility.
Yeah, exactly. So the other thing we were trying to do is, as I say, we would do, layout tours Saturday evening after the main clinic. But the problem is if the main clinic program ends at 5 and people have a quick dinner, and then you have clinics open from 7 to 10, well, that gives people maybe 45 minutes to eat dinner and get on the road. And that means you can really see 2, 3, maybe 4 layouts, because we used to have Jack Burgess and Jim Diaz, 2 blocks apart, so you could hit those 2 without much travel time. And it also meant that all the open layouts that you were going to be touring had to be within no more than a half-hour drive of wherever you were holding the meet. And that meant that we were only getting the South Bay layouts, and we were really overexposing them. So by moving up to Alameda, and by the way, Cliff Linton, who's organized this year's clinic program, found us a nice facility with an Elks Hall in downtown Alameda, which, is pretty centrally located, has good food nearby, a bunch of stuff. And so we were able to feature different layouts. Well, then the year after, we decided, well, this was such a great idea. Let's try the North Bay guys. And we set up in, I think, Novato, in Marin County, for those of you who aren't familiar with the Bay Area. It's a little north of the Golden Gate Bridge. But that, of course, is a problem because people, if you're heading up to Marin, which is the, coming home from work commute on Friday evening, you get caught in one of the Bay Area's really horrendous commutes. So I was talking to David Parks, who organized the ops and the layout tours, and he's still doing it for several years. He's really been my right-hand guy all these years. And the question was, well, David, what can we do to get guys north of the bridge early in the day before the commute starts? Because we don't want, people to come up to the welcome dinner and, be missing it because they're, stuck on 19th Avenue in San Francisco or, the moral equivalent. So we set up some tours. I think the Northwestern Pacific Historical Society has their headquarters. They have a nice archive you can visit. And then one year we did the Marin, the Sonoma Marin Transit SMART, and we did a tour of the line. And basically everybody met at one of the stations, and we ran all the way to the end and back and so forth. So we started holding Friday activities as a way to get people out to wherever we were ahead of the traffic. And that's worked really well. So it's grown over the years into a 3.5-day meet because, for example, this year we're going to start with a tour of the Richmond Pacific Railroad, it's a local industrial short line. And we're going to be meeting over at the East Bay Club, which is where we'll hold the meet on Saturday. But they've got a nice parking lot, and we'll meet there at 2:30 or in the afternoon on Friday. Tour the meet for a couple of hours. We have a dinner arranged at the Craneway Pavilion, which is kind of a giant food court, but we've got a dedicated space, and we're going to have a dinner speaker, former Southern Pacific Vice President, I believe. And Cliff arranged all this, so it's wonderful. And then we'll be back there the next morning for the clinics and panels. And the consulting is all kind of done asynchronously. You sign up and we set you up with a clinician, and I think you get a 20 or 30-minute Zoom and some other stuff. So, we have all these activities. And then, of course, Sunday we have op sessions. And they're mostly North Bay. We're trying to expose the North and East Bay guys this year. So it's really 3 great days of, visiting, touring, learning, operating, talking trains, talking design.
Yeah.
Let's back up for 1 second. And I think this is really important to mention a couple things. One, these operating sessions are for new people, right? So you don't have to be an expert and worry that you're going to screw up the op session and mess up everybody's fun. So right. Michelle, are you raising your hand, Michelle? Are you afraid?
I'm totally that person that I was terrified. I'm so scared.
And in the Bay Area, this event is a really great way for new people to get to operate on some great layouts that usually aren't open to new people because they have their regular crews. It's just it's a tough nut to crack if you're trying to get in there. And this is one of the ways that you can do that is by this event. So
many of those world famous layouts happen to have layout tour videos right on this channel.
They certainly do.
There you go.
Strange coincidence. Yeah.
So Paul Weiss, Jim Providenza, Ted Stevens, and there's a couple others. In fact, the invites went out. So if you haven't signed up, sign up right away. We'll get your contact information to David Parks, and he'll send you the invite list for.
That's the other thing I wanted to mention is that the op sessions that you're talking about are just for the in-person people. Unfortunately, we don't have a virtual ops set up for this. So.
Although we're thinking about it and how to make that happen.
But get cut off.
But just to make that clear, John, if you have signed up for the clinics virtually because you're busy Saturday and can't get into down to Richmond the whole day and sign up virtually, you can still sign up for the in-person ops. So if you're in the Bay Area and can drive to an ops session on Sunday, all you need to do is sign up for the virtual part of the meet. I mean, we'd love to have you in person, although we're a little limited in space. But Sid, I assume we still have some space.
We have some space virtually. If we have people who want to attend any of the in-person stuff, though, that's when they would register as in-person because you'll get the Zoom link so that just in case something comes up and you can't make it, you can still do the Saturday clinic day by Zoom. So please register as in-person if you want to anywhere in the area and you want to do any of the activities, please do that.
Yeah, the op sessions we can handle people who've signed up for virtual. And again, if you're in the Bay Area, we'll send you the invitation. We'd love to have you. But again, the key thing is these are, not that you shouldn't come if you're an experienced operator. I mean, we love to have you, and the hosts always, when there's a bunch of newbies around, breathe a little easier when there's some experienced folks to help out. But
we can learn so much from all of you experienced folks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, the idea is we could, run 2-man crews and pair people up, or 2-person crews, because, definitely everybody's involved regardless of, how you identify. There's freedom to fail here. I mean, this is how you're going to learn.
Also, I wanted to point out that our virtual attendees, we're going to do a little virtual check-in on Friday evening to if for folks want to making sure that the link works, say hi, hey, hello to people, talk a little bit. We're open 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. So that's before the clinic starts at 9. And then right after on Saturday, if you want to grab a sandwich or maybe someone nice in your house will bring you dinner so that you can eat and sort of attend a virtual mixer, if you will. Saturday after the clinics, we'll hang around and chat with each other. So we got plenty of opportunity. Maybe I can drag some of the people who were there in person on the day over to the computer to kind of chat with some of you guys. So that's my goal. That's my goal anyway.
Yeah, we'll make Seth have a cameo appearance on the virtual people or something.
Oh, there you go. We'll I'll let somebody else drive, and you can do this in a car with, it'll feel like cinema verite.
People can yell at you over the internet.
I'm super sad. I'm going to miss this. I'm at a tourism convention in Detroit that weekend.
Wow, you're going to Detroit when we're having all this fun?
Here's the little
tip. Around the East Bay in the dark versus go to Detroit?
Because I think it sounds fun to call in and be part of this.
Here's the great tip about this event, guys, is that every year this happens on the weekend that falls between the end of the football season and the Super Bowl. You know, that one weekend that you're free. Yeah. So you can always plan on scheduling it, Okay. Usually it's not a bad time to visit California then. At least our hills are green. So
well, this year everything's green.
And this year I also wanted to point out is that our design challenge, which I find just fascinating. I've never participated in, but it's so interesting that somebody puts out there kind of like, I don't know, it could be kind of like a problem scenario, I guess, or it could be just something that's kind of there to spark imagination, but, put something out there and then kind of seeing what people bring to the table as their solution or their idea to bring this layout to fruition. It's, I've seen great presentations and they don't have to be crazy complicated or anything. They sketch stuff out on a piece of paper, take a picture of it and put it on a slide. It's not that difficult. And this year we're going to be doing the British exhibition layouts. So those are kind of modular, but not. So check out the website for sure. It talks about the design challenge there. And it's really interesting. And even our virtual attendees can take part in the design challenge. So,
yeah, it's a very cool idea. And Robert Bowditch, who's our webmaster, also stepped up to organize this challenge. And it's just wonderful. He's posted great resources for both, British modular layouts and a prototype that he suggests you start to work with. So, you don't need to do a ton of research, just read the material Robert pointed you at and you're ready to go. Let me see, did we at any point here run through the clinics that we've got that Cliff had organized?
Nope.
What I was rooting around for, because I'd expected Cliff to be here.
If you know them, you should mention what they are real quick.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so David Parks, again, our longtime layout tour and ops organizer, is also a leader in automated running of layouts. And he's really spent a lot of time thinking about this problem, particularly as display layouts like museums might do it. And he's done an awful lot with the JMRI tool suite. He's worked with most of the developers who touch that. And he's going to give us a presentation on automated running. And it's very impressive. And he can do hybrid running. So you can have real operators and then run trains automatically. Now, being one of Dave's regular dispatchers, I have to say, though, you can always tell because the automated trains stop when you tell them to.
Unlike us operators, right?
Unlike the human operators, it's like,
we say, what? Maybe. Was that Seth yelling at me? What?
Yeah. Yeah, what's the red light for? It's Christmas decorations on the layout.
What does that mean?
Train to dispatch. Was I supposed to stop at that red light?
Yeah, that
I
was.
can't tell because it's red because I went past it. So was it red before?
Yeah,
Right. I think I knocked it down.
Yeah. So I mean,
So Seth, though, how would people? So this is kind of a cool clinic, and people could use it. I'm thinking immediately, like obviously, if they're going to have people come visit their layout for layout tours, or even just bringing in the local Cub Scout or Girl Scout troop or something to set their layout running.
Yeah, it's a fairly neat tool suite, and David and his crew have done an amazing job with it. In fact, I've stolen a bunch of their ideas for a commercial client I've got, who I've been doing a signaling system for. Had a little scope creep. Next thing I knew, we were doing automated running, but happily, the guys who know what to do are right here. So that was a big win all around. And it's, if you have signaling on your layout, now there's a little bit of an infrastructure investment. It's not too much beyond that. So, it's more learning to use the tool, which Dave's going to tell you about, rather than investing a whole lot more. So that's great. The next one is Yard Operations by Mark Amfar, who was a professional dispatcher and is a professional consultant, and he designs yards for transit districts, short lines. He's done railroads in foreign countries. These are typically government railroads. And he's a very bright guy. And if you ever get to Minneapolis, he has a fantastic Union Pacific oriented layout.
Can I interject for just 1 second before you
Sure.
go to the next one? I had the opportunity to edit the clinic by Mark because it's being presented remotely. So we record those ahead of time. And it is fascinating because he doesn't just talk about yard operations now. He talks about the historic difference between yard operations too. So it's a very interesting clinic. Please proceed, sir.
Yeah. And actually one more attaboy for Mark. If you follow the UP Streamliner, the magazine of the UP Society, which is very good, Mark, certainly every other issue, puts out an amazing analysis of traffic on some part of the UP and how it changed over the years, and just all kinds of really, really interesting analysis of what was going on in the schedule, well documented with train sheets and all the appropriate paperwork. And if you're into how all the gears mesh together, Mark knows it inside out and obviously designs it for the pros. Then we're going to have Dave Clemens, and Dave's from up in Rockland these days, but he was a city planner in the East Bay, I think in Union City, California, before he retired. And he's a civil engineer, so he's a great planner anyway. And he's talking about new layout designs. And this is particularly interesting to me because Dave was the moderator of that very first SIG meet I went to at Gene Martin's in 1993. And, so he's wonderful, lots of knowledge, very helpful at, getting things in a form you can use. Now, then we'll take a lunch break, and we're offering lunch as part of the in-person program this year. And that's mostly because as we've gone into the hybrid era, it's important that we stay on schedule. It always used to be a little bit of a cat herding exercise to get restarted after lunch when we sent people off into the wilds of Silicon Valley to get lunch. So the idea here is, you sit your butt in the seat and eat your lunch and come back on time. Because we've got people all over the world tuning in. And while we do that, we try to at least break up the local people, and I assume we'll be doing something similar for the virtual people into birds of a feather, which are, subgroups or Zoom rooms in the virtual world where you can get together with folks with similar interests. And we did this at Rails by the Bay a couple of years ago, and it was very successful. Then let's see, we have Rob Leachman, who was an SP executive talking about Pacific Fruit Express operations. I know those of you who regularly attend this will go, what do you mean? It's not Tony Thompson? But we've been to the well with Tony many times, and I'm sure he would have been happy to speak, but we thought we'd just put a little spin on it. And then, Robert Bowditch, we talked about the design challenge, and we'll try and get you out of there by 4:45 so we can clean up the club and you can grab some food and get ready for your tours. So anyway.
Or the rest of us virtually are going to hang out.
Or hang out. So again, drive around the East Bay in the dark, hang out with friends.
I think the virtual idea is a little safer. Well, thanks for coming to talk about it, Seth, because this is something that I came to the first one 4 or 5 years ago with Sid, and boy, I was really impressed with the level of knowledge that's even just sitting in the audience at this event. So it's
right. You came up to Petaluma, right?
Yeah,
that was a good one. Yeah.
So interesting. Always so interesting. No matter if you're just kind of interested in model railroading, everything. Always so interesting. Great event. Exactly. Great event, Seth.
Something to mention.
Thank you. Thanks so much for giving us the opportunity to pitch it. And always a pleasure to talk to you guys, of course. And hopefully we'll see you in person.
And Seth, you and I have something else we have to pitch.
You do?
Yeah. We got to talk about the PCR convention.
Oh, we have to pitch PCR?
Rails by the River.
Can you pitch that real quick? Because we have another event too that we have to pitch here.
I know. So just to give people a heads up, right, about our PCR annual convention, that's our Pacific Coast region of the NMRA. We do an annual convention. And this year it's called Rails by the River.
In Sacramento.
And it's going to include lots of fun opportunities all around Sacramento.
One of the great things about any of the SAC events is the State Museum is incredibly supportive, and I'm sure there'll be lots of opportunities to take advantage of their resources also.
Yeah, there's a logo for it. People can find that by searching for Rails by the River, but it's also on PCR's NMRA PCR.
I just put the link in the chat there, and it's pcrnmra.org/CONV, like convention 2023. So
cool.
Yeah, I think we've got the logo of that thing scattered all over.
And the exciting part about this is that Seth and I and John and a bunch other, we're joining some other volunteers. But there's going to be a virtual component, folks, a virtual component. Right. So you can get that West Coast convention experience virtually. So check out the website, see if you want to attend.
So something else that's really cool about the virtual events of not just this, but also the SIGMEET we were talking about a minute ago is that you don't have to belong to any of the organizations. You just sign up and you can see what we're doing. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Another nice thing about Rails by the River is it's, as you can see over on the right, it's joint with the Feather River Rail Society, which is
that's right,
Western Pacific Historical Group.
And for those who don't know, those are the people that operate the Western Pacific Railroad Museum in Portola, right? There's something that awesome. I know you know about, Michelle, because we were
that was so fun. Such a great place.
Yeah,
it's a very nice museum, and it's not as large as some others, but I'd say they punch well above their weight, and it's really worth. It's beautiful country, so it's definitely worth driving out there to see.
Yeah. And I'd be surprised if the California State Railroad Museum isn't offering either a discounted rate or, I mean, even if they're not, it's worth it to go to the museum if you go to the convention.
So the Rails by the River also is offering a tour package for the week prior to the convention, 4 or 5 days before. And boy, do you get to see a lot of stuff. That seems like a really great tour. Really great. So take a look at everything about the convention.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
I just brought the website up for it. It's got a lot of info.
Yeah. That tour is insane. I mean, Sydney was sitting here. I don't know what we were doing. She's like, here, let me tell you all the stuff that this tour is doing. And it's like everything that you could possibly do in Northern California is on this tour.
Yeah. So, well, there's some great resources. And, between Sacramento and Portola, you've certainly got many of them. Not that there aren't other good things there, but those are first rate. One last pitch there, and didn't come prepared to really talk about it that much. But over the years, I used to attend the Western Pacific Society's meets fairly regularly. Glad to see they're back in person, and I always found that the quality of those clinics was very, very high.
Cool.
Yeah. So
sure.
Okay.
Well, sir, thank you for your time.
Nice to see you.
Always
nice to see you, Seth.
We'll see you a little bit later.
Yeah. See. Yeah. Exactly. We'll see. And we'll see you tomorrow. So.
Yep. We got some stuff planned. So
real love fest here. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care now.
Goodbye.
All right. So there's one more thing at least.
I have two things.
Oh,
that's okay. This is where people can find out about all kinds of stuff.
The next thing to happen, I'm going to Amherst Railway Society's Rail Heritage Show, Railway Show at Amherst next weekend. So I think Virtual Rail Fan will be up and running inside the show again, and that's a way that everybody can be involved. So
I saw you on it last time.
I know. So message me on Facebook or text me if you have my phone number and tell me when you're watching, and I'll try to go wave. So
isn't that where you met Heath last year?
Yeah, I met Heath at the Scale Trains announcement. We were like all there, and it's such a fun show because of the people. I like all the people there, and there's so much stuff. I mean, it's like overwhelming. There's so much model railroad stuff. I didn't even see it all, but there's something special this year, so I want to talk about it. Yeah. Iowa Skilled Engineering makes the Proto Throttle. They're actually located in Colorado, and they're great supporters of the Colorado Model Railroad Museum, and they just made Proto Throttle number 1,000. And they were shocked they actually made 1,000 of them, but they decided they wanted to donate it to be given away. So you can enter the drawing. If you're going to Amherst, this is what I wanted to say. Make sure you go to the Modeler's Life booth in the Better Living Center and enter. And they're asking you to throw $1 or $2 in a jar for the Colorado Model Railroad Museum for your entry, but you don't have to. It can be free. $2 is awesome. Maybe $3.
Hey, $3 is less than what it costs for a coffee. You can afford that.
Exactly, especially at a train show.
Yeah, just don't buy that locomotive.
So I think it's exciting. They'll draw it, I think, at 2:00 on Sunday is the plan. So Saturday I will be in the NMRA booth most of the day, and Sunday I'll be at the Modeler's Life booth most of the day. So.
Are you repping the women in model railroading sake?
I am. I have a whole section for us, and we have an event. We have cookies at 3:00 on Saturday, because 3:00 on Saturday, you are tired and you need sugar. That's the reality of any train show, right?
Cookies are necessary. Yeah.
Yeah, you're just dragging. So I'm bringing the sugar, and we're gonna have some cookies, and I think it'll be really fun just to kind of introduce it. They're gonna let me make announcements, so if you hear me over the PA system for the whole show. Hopefully it's not like hopefully I do.
No, what it will be like is because you laugh
all
all
I do
the
is
time.
I giggle. So I'll be like, oh, listen, Michelle just giggled, so I know it's her. No clue what she said, but
yeah, but they'll recognize the laugh from everywhere.
They will. So that's it. I just wanted to pitch that real quick, because that's next weekend if anybody watching is going to Amherst. So.
And I apologize. It's not on my radar because I'm not going, but I really want to get out to that train show one of these days. And,
it's like a pilgrimage. You should go at least once in your life just to go see this thing, because it's pretty amazing.
Exactly. And I've heard how it's like the biggest train show in the world or something, so it'd be cool to Even just
It
to
really
go,
is. I have to say, I was completely overwhelmed and lost the first year I went. Lost in a sea of modeling and like different railroads I didn't know, and it was an experience, a learning experience. It was good.
Right. Oh, Sydney just typed in something, and she's right. I forgot about that. The tour we were talking about isn't for the PCR convention; it's for the National Garden Railway Society's.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense for that one to have a rail tour.
They're still looking for putting together their excursions for the PCR's annual convention, but it was impressive for the National Garden Railway Group and their convention that's in July. I mean,
That's
it's an
awesome.
impressive tour. Hey, maybe you're not even going to the convention. Go to that tour. I don't know. But you might as well go to the convention.
I did a tour for the O Scale National in 21, and I had people just come for the tour. They paid extra. They had to buy a convention registration, but they just came for the tour.
Yeah.
But I about killed them. That was a week of, wow, we saw everything. But
is that the one that you have the stories about?
Yeah, it was super fun. We have the O Scale National Convention while we're talking about conventions in June, again in Colorado, but I'm just doing a 1-day thing because right now the cost of tours is really high and I don't have time to actually do a week-long rail tour to lead one. So we're just going to the Georgetown Loop, but it'll be fun. The layouts for that are fun. I operated on a layout last weekend in O Scale. Really? I did. I was totally by myself. I didn't have to have anybody with me, and I completed my jobs. And I ran a rotary coal dump and ran I ran another coal train. It was really fun. So
that's
Dave Stewart's
cool.
Appalachian in Ohio, if you've ever heard of it. And John and Sydney, you don't know this yet, but you get to do a layout tour of it when you come for our next thing we're going to talk about.
Oh, are we going to have time to do one?
I don't know. We'll sneak it in. It's right by my house.
Oh, well, let's bring this up here because this is one that I'm looking forward to. Here we go.
That's one.
Now, I don't know. I can't make this left side bigger. Let me try to do it this way.
Yeah, and if you just go to their website, Rocky Mountain Train Show, he basically puts like the people who attend up on there. Most of the manufacturers come to this show. It's a great show. Okay, so I've been to pretty much all the train shows now, and I think this one definitely rivals Train Fest for being the second largest in the country. So
a lot of people going to be there that I'd like to meet.
They had about 10,000 attendees last year. So, wow. But it's a great train show. There is a Lionel component to it. It's actually put on by TCA, but we all work together in Colorado, so it's everything. It's all scales, everything together.
Right. So what's TCA?
The Toy Train Collectors Association, which is the Lionel Train Collectors Association, kind of like the NMRA for Lionel people.
Right. I just wanted to make sure people know what that is because we use acronyms a lot, NMRA, PCR. We have all these acronyms and we know what it is, but a lot of times people watching don't know. So I think that's cool because think about it. What almost always gets kids into trains is toy trains of some sort, right?
Right.
So, I think that's an integral part of the hobby that a lot of us sort of overlook because it's not, scale modeling, if you want to call it that, like the serious scale modelers that we
This one's really fun for kids. There's a whole area. We take our Lego train where they build onto these Lego deck cars and run their cars. And then we have a on the ground, like wooden track play area. And there's a lot of different kid activities at this show. It's really fun. It's funny because there are families who are not modelers that it's a huge public show also.
Yeah, it's a fun activity day to take your kids to, whether you're really super into trains or not. So if you know anybody with kids that's within a few hours of this location, I would share it with them because it's a great way to entertain.
And then all these people are introduced to the hobby. It's such a great show for introducing the general public to the hobby, I think.
Right.
So
they do
a great job promoting it.
Yeah, having never been to this show before and hearing about how huge it is. And actually, I know a bunch of the people that are, already that are going to be there. So it's going to be a good time. And I'm still, we're still trying to figure out and sort of cement the top event here, live coverage from TSG. We don't really know.
The new thing this year is that we have live coverage from TSG Multimedia, and we don't really know what that looks like yet, but it's going to be cool.
Right? No, wait a minute. No, we know everything, and it's a big surprise, and we'll be really shocked at how good it is.
It's going to be fun. I think, John hasn't been in the building yet, so this year might be a little bit of a learning curve with their facility. I don't know, but I do know that it'll be fun, and there will be a lot of interviews going on. And
our aim too for TSG is to try to bring some of that fun to you guys that can't be there. And then maybe it helps really cement that into people's plans for, hey, let's take a little road trip and work that into our little spring vacation or something next year. So
it's a great, it's a good time to come to Colorado if you're a skier. It is the height of ski season. So if you want to experience winter and you live somewhere else, this is the time to come. Only one time have we ever had like a bad snowstorm during it, but we all came anyway because we're Colorado. So it was still fun. It's a great show. So I'm so excited you guys are coming.
Yeah. And one of the things I really hope for, Michelle, by being able to put this out to this as large of an audience as we have on YouTube, is that it will do what Sid just talked about, which is to see, get people to see, wow, this is a huge show that's worth traveling from wherever to go to. So
it's just kind of fun, even if you know that you'll never come you won't fly thousands of miles to come here or something. It's kind of fun just to be that sort of fly on the wall,
right?
See fun stuff happening. So
with the new location, I should talk about this since these are YouTubers and people that might come from out of town. You fly into the Denver airport and you get on the A line and you go to Union Station, and you could stay near there, right? Or anywhere on the A line. There's hotels all up and down it. And I'm staying on one on the A line, even though I'm not even riding the train. and you guys are too. You don't know that yet. And then you can go down to Union Station and get on a different train that goes right to this train show. So you can 100% do do renting a car.
That's awesome.
Train too.
In Colorado, that's unheard of.
But because that's, usually it's your airfare is 1/3, your hotel's the other third, and your car is the last third. So
this one you can absolutely just stay on the light rail and go to and from your hotel. It's perfect.
Let me tell you, it was very expensive renting a car in Colorado. And I'm not even talking about going
anywhere.
My California one was pretty high too.
Yeah.
The cheapest car rental I've had is Texas, but then the tolls made up for that. So Dallas.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm excited about the show. And I do think we should promote that you don't have to rent a car to come to the show. And that's new. We had to change locations with COVID. They tore the old building down where we used to have it and they moved to this new one. And now it's on the rail line. So
that's perfect.
Perfect. Cool. And there's rail fanning right there, by the way. You step outside and like BN's line goes through and there's all sorts of trains and it's super fun.
So we'll be looking for all our YouTube friends out there that can join us all at this event. So
and it happens the first weekend of April every year. So you, like Sydney was saying earlier with the other one, you can just plan on this every year on the first weekend of April. So you can't make this year, plan for next year.
Sure.
And then it also happens in November, doesn't it? Someplace else?
There's a small one that's it's much smaller, but it happens up by Greeley. It happens at the Larimer County Fairgrounds called the Ranch. And it's a fun train show because it's before Christmas. So it's kind of that Christmas spirit. It's the kickoff to Christmas after Thanksgiving. And it's just really fun. And everybody's got their Christmas trains out. And a lot of the Christmas Village booths are there too. So if you need stuff for your Christmas displays, it's kind of fun. It's a different kind of train show because it's very much at the holidays. So,
well, I'm very
look at that. You do need to go see that.
Yeah, I'm interested in, and maybe we can talk to him about it later, Michelle, and maybe we can get John to come on, the organizer of this train show, because
let's do.
I think that you could probably tell everybody as much as he could, just because you've been involved as much as you have. But there's something that, everybody has a different idea of what's important or what's fun about a show like this. And I think if we can get John to come on maybe next month.
He is one of the most hardworking people I know to make this thing happen. He and his team, they're fantastic. And they're working on ways to get next year, probably won't happen this year, but next year to get clinics. And so if you're one of those historic societies, you might think about partnering with this train show for your annual convention because there's space. There's a whole nother floor of this train show. It could be twice as big.
Nice.
So there's growth possibilities with this show. So.
And if you have always wanted to do a clinic, sounds like there's an opening there in the future. So, yeah.
I'm excited.
I'm super excited.
I'm always excited for this weekend. This is such a fun train show. I just marked my calendar off for the whole weekend and like, I'm gone. I'm there.
Do you know who should also be excited? And now she can say no if she wants to, but I told you this earlier, Michelle. I want Jennifer and her photography feature on this when we're out, going around showing people what's there live, because
she's got a booth. She sells her real photography.
Right.
She has a booth. So that she doesn't know yet. I didn't tell her that we're gonna have her on.
Since this show seems to be the unofficial sharer of all rail photography photographers, you definitely need to get Jennifer on for sure.
Yep. So that's why I said it the way I said it, because I don't know, maybe she'll be shy and not want to do it, but
she'll do it.
Yeah, I know sometimes she's sitting there in the room with you.
Sometimes she's here, but she's not here right now.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. She'll find out by watching this later.
Yeah.
And she'll be like,
ask her if her ears were burning.
I know I will.
Don't put me on the spot like that. Right?
Well, that's all I had. I think we've covered all the things. Did you have any other conventions?
No. Well, I mean,
we're busy this year.
There was another one on my list, but
we didn't even hit on that. I'm on committee for the O-Scale National in June and the NMRA National in August, and then right after that is the National Narrow Gauge, which I'm volunteering for.
Nice.
In Denver.
Where's the narrow gauge going to be?
Denver.
Oh, it is in Denver.
Really?
So
in August?
A lot of people are doing this. So the Texas one, the NMRA in Texas, is the week of I always get it wrong. The 20th. Mm-hmm. The 20th through the 26th, or through the 27th through the train show, and then you have 2 days to get to Colorado and ride a train on your way, because you could just really easily go right by the Coomber's and Toltec. Ride that and come right up to convention. A lot of people are doing that, either Durango and Silverton or Coomber's and Toltec, because there's like this little window of 2 to 3 days, and then come to the National Narrow Gauge, which is in Denver.
That's pretty cool. Now,
what's the date of the National Narrow Gauge?
The National Narrow Gauge it goes over the 2 months. I think it starts the 30th or the 31st and goes through the 3rd of September.
That's cool. I've always wanted to go to the Narrow Gauge convention.
And I tell you, we're the home of it, and the layouts are good on this convention, and you're right close to all the narrow gauge railroads in Colorado to ride, and it'll be a good one.
I wonder, Michelle, since I'm guessing you probably know some of the people that are involved with that, if you'd like to get someone from the narrow gauge convention to come talk about it.
I will. I'll do that.
And I have a question for you that I'll ask you when we're done, when the music is over here.
Okay.
That has to do with the NMRA National. So,
okay.
Anyway,
it's going to be fun too. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, that should be good. I just
put the narrow gauge convention link in the chat.
Oh, thank you. Yep. Come to that. That's going to be really fun.
Yeah, that's one of the things our friend Dave Adams, Dave, he always has said that the narrow gauge convention is really good, and he goes to all of them, so he would know. So he's like Mr. Narrow Gauge. Anytime there's a steam engine or a narrow gauge or anything like that, I see Dave there.
And the guys putting on the narrow gauge convention are great. They're good people. They're organized. They're doing a good job.
Do you know who all's doing it, like offhand, or?
Well, do you know Chris Lane?
I know
from
the
White
name.
River Productions.
Yeah, I know
He's
the name.
kind of in it, and I don't know if you know any of the other guys, and I'm not sure I'm going to remember their last names, but
yeah, that's okay. Don't worry about it. We can have that on a future show or something. So
yeah. Well, we did pretty good. We're only 9 minutes over the hour.
Yeah, well, but that's the nice thing about YouTube is we don't have the hard stop where you're like, network is coming on or whatever.
Right.
Thanks for everyone sticking with us as we sell all these shows. It's we're just trying to share with you guys a bunch of cool events that, especially with the virtual options of some of these, a whole bunch of people can attend them that never really had a chance before. So which is
Right.
the reason John and I are involved in them. So
That's fun.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
Right on.
Well,
We'll see everybody next month. Let me see what day that's going to be on next month. I have my calendar that I always. March 15th. It's the Ides of March. Beware of the Ides of March.
well, don't we have February before we have March?
Oh,
yeah, usually February
But
comes.
it's the same. It's the 15th.
Well-
February and March lay out exactly the same this year,
I was gonna
number wise.
I was going to say that. Well, it's the Ides of February.
The Ides of February.
Also known as the day after Valentine's Day.
And then it'll also be the 15th of March.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
have to do a Valentine's Day theme or something. I don't know what that will be.
Romantic passenger trains? I have no idea. I
I'll
mean, what
wear
do you do with
sunglasses
that?
with hearts on them or something.
We do. So for Valentine's Day at the museum, it's National Love Your Historic Places Week,
Oh, nice.
which is cool. So we make Valentines for our caboose, and kids go and hang them in the caboose.
That's cute.
And
The actual caboose that you can
our
actually
actual
go
caboose,
inside.
like they make a Valentine, and they for our caboose, like we love you caboose, and they go and hang them on the strings in the caboose. We clip them up in there. It's really fun.
That
It's
sounds
super
like-
cute.
That sounds like one of those naughty Valentines. Hey, I love your caboose.
Oh, John.
Leave it to the 10-year-old mind here. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Well,
On,
I think
on that note,
see ya, everybody.
yep, we'll see everybody next time.
Bye.
Bye.